Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of June 24th to June 30th. What did I say? June 30th. What is June 30th? It is the end of the month. Since the beginning of Gemini season, I have been running a BOGO special for all of my existing clients. Existing. We know each other. I have your chart. We have met before. We've done things together before. You've been a part of my live Zooms. You've been a part of something with me. We are familiar. And since the beginning of Gemini season, I have been running a buy one, get one special on my readings for existing clients. Now, I keep saying that because the BOGO special is only for the people that are paying full price for that reading. If you are a new client, you don't pay full price. For new clients, a 1 hour session with me is $35. A pre-recorded natal chart reading with me is $35. A 90-minute one-on-one session with me is $50. You're not paying full price. So I'm not doing a special on top of a special. But for my existing clients, if you are wanting to take advantage of the BOGO special, then you need to message me this week. Don't try to come to me on July 1st or July 4th going, oh, Dusty, I missed it. No, because I ran it for a month and a half. These are the last few days to do that. So go ahead and get those booked. All of my contact information is in the description of every single episode. So you can DM me, you can email me, whatever's going to work best for you. But there are ways to get a hold of me. Okay, moving along. How was the full moon? The last few weeks that we've been going through, we have had a shift in our focus. And I said that was going to happen. We've had new information coming through, and I said that was going to happen. If you were closer to the June 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th timeframe, that new energy and that new thing, that was very disruptive, forceful, abusive, tense, argumentative, triggering. As we went through last week, though, whatever came to light for some people was either very inspirational. And if you had inspiration last week during that full moon, babies, count your blessings. Because I'm telling you, that is not how it went with everybody else. Some people, it was inspiration. We got this great idea of how we can turn something around, how we can do something different. However, those squares to Neptune didn't work that way with everybody. Some people, it was not inspiration. For some people, it was the effect of something. We realized the medicine was not the same. We realized the treatment was not the same. We realized that we couldn't keep doing something a certain way because it was not helping. And we had to take a step back. For other people, it wasn't the medicine. It wasn't the inspiration. It was the lies. It was the deception, the fraud, the misgivings, the things that you were not privy to, that you had been blinded to. And whatever revealed itself, I was very clear about this. And once I said it on the podcast, like I kept hearing my own words coming back at me. And that was, the writing has been on the wall. We were just choosing not to see it. We were just choosing not to recognize it. But once we took the step back and following the full moon, so many of us, we were taking a step back. We were able to start to look at the writing on the wall. Once we took the step back, we were able to really wrap our head around that issue, whether it was the deception, whether it was the treatment, whether it was the inspiration. And I said part of the weekend was really about getting a strategy, putting a plan in order, putting something in motion, trying to be productive. If you were not trying to be productive this weekend, you were doing yourself a disservice. Now, some of us were rather clumsy about it. Some of us were a little loopy. That also had to do with the fact that the full moon did square Neptune. And even though Neptune's energy was one of those main three, There was also just that little cloudy, foggy effect of people's minds. And even though we took the step back, it still has been trying to dissipate. The fog has been trying to dissipate. And I feel like for a lot of people, as we go into Monday, the fog is still trying to dissipate. Now, one of the things that we kept going through last week, and you guys kept hearing me say it because they kept popping out at me, is the in conjunctions through the transit. Now, another word for an in conjunction is a quincunx. Quincunx, quincunx. Either word does not matter. It is a 150-degree angle. A square is 90 degrees, a sextile is 60, a trine is 120, oppositions are 180. All these other numbers have some type of mathematical wellness to them. But the quincunx is different because it's like the center of the wheel is blocking us from something. And each time we went through part of this last week, we heard something that we were having a hard time believing. We heard something that we did not desire to know. And if there was not proof, facts, receipts to support it, you didn't believe it. But the thing is, the first quincunx was both Venus and Mercury. And a lot of people had proof. They had the receipts, they had the spreadsheet, they had the numbers, they had something to support what they were saying. But again, regardless of the proof, we were having a hard time wrapping our head around something. It still didn't make sense. And the only reason it didn't make sense is because we idealized that person, we romanticized that situation. We wanted to believe what we already knew to be true. But for a lot of us, it was never the truth. It was just the truth we had been accepting. And again, as we got closer to that full moon, another energy towards pumping the brakes. And I've been saying that for a while. It's the first time I've said it in this episode. But we're getting closer to a full turn in the atmosphere, a full turn in the equation. Over the next week and a half, 2 planets are going to go retrograde. The first one this week, at the end of the week, will be Saturn. Rules, roles, elders, responsibility, karma, law, boundaries, getting reestablished whenever Saturn turns. There's an interesting energy that is carrying us forward from the first full moon to Saturn turning retrograde. And I say the first full moon because it's the first full moon in Capricorn. That's what we had over the weekend. We will have another in July. And the transition between these two are doing a bit of a reset in how we're dealing with the full moon energy. I said last week, we're at the start of something, the start of a new focus, the start of a new shift. We've bridged into new awareness, and this awareness is going to start to encapsulate our senses. The information that was brought forward is giving us a direction, a path. It is making us face something, it's making us make immediate decisions. Those decisions have not all been made yet. A lot of those decisions are going to be forced to be made this week because we just had a full moon in Saturn sign, and then 10 days later, 8 days, I keep wanting to add extra numbers to this. 8 days later, it's the 29th, by the way, Saturn will turn retrograde. So little by little throughout this week, we're addressing something. We're handling something. We're forcing a hand. And where the hand is meant to be is towards the authority figure, towards the people that have been abusing their power, towards the people that have not been handling responsibility well, towards the people that need to have something adjust in their role. There's an adjustment in the care, and that care would be with the elder. There's an adjustment in responsibility. It got triggered going into the full moon. We needed a few days to wrap our head around some things. We needed a few days to strategize. We needed a few days to put something in order and take that step back and really evaluate the situation. As we go into the first of this week, though, we will start to make decisions. We will start to express something. We will start to work on something. And whatever that expression is, anywhere between Monday and Tuesday, it will be met with indifference. It will be met with rejection. It will be met with some type of tension or frustration. It will not be received well. Now, is the beginning of the week horrible? No. But there will be parts of each day where we try to tell somebody something. We want to talk about something, and it's like we're getting hit with a brick wall. They don't want to accept it. They don't want to hear you. They ain't about this business. And in some ways, they're a little tapped out. Some people are immediately saying, I don't want this responsibility. This is yours to handle. This is yours to deal with. This is yours to focus on. It's going to be different for everybody. Now, if you have had the blessing of inspiration, then basically the start of the week is going to be like you're trying to tell people what you're working on. You're trying to announce something. You're trying to really show something off. And again, it's being met with indifference because their vision is not the same as yours. That or they're tapped out. And they're like, okay, that's great for you. But it's you. It's not, it's your thing. It's your focus. It's your dream. It's your drive. It's you. You do that. And the indifference is just, they can't tune in at that moment. We start the week with some level of indifference. We start the week making some level of decisions and announcements that are not going to be received well, that are going to be met with some level of tension. And little by little, as we go through the week, we will see a turn within our elders, a turn with authority figures, a turn in our legal matters, a turn in commitments and partnerships in our direction. Will we have full turns for everybody? No. And it really kind of comes down to which of the two squares from the Pisces side hit you harder. Was it the Saturn squares that occurred earlier in the month? Or was it the Neptune squares that have happened over the course of the last week? Those two planets are about to turn retrograde. Saturn is the first. Neptune is next week. Neptune's how we start July. Turns, shifts. We do not see eye to eye anymore. We do not believe certain people anymore. We don't respect certain people anymore. We're not vibing with them no more. And we have a different direction as to how we want to go. I'm not working for the man. I'm working for myself. I'm not relying on you anymore. I'm going to do this myself. I'm not going to do this with you. I'm going in another direction. And it's going to be a hard pill to swallow because some of us are going to be the ones pulling away. Others are going to feel like they're being pulled away from. And the thing is, rejection can bring out the worst in some people. They don't handle it well. And we need to also be mentally and emotionally prepared for that. And I say specific now with the emotions because so much of the transits are in water signs. Saturn is turning retrograde in Pisces. Neptune will turn retrograde in Pisces. Mercury, Venus, and the sun, there's a whole hand, they're in Cancer. This week, the moon will also be in Pisces. So do not be surprised whenever we see these emotional reactions from people and potentially emotional outbursts. But whatever we're going through this weekend, it is the next phase of how we're continuing in our new focus. I think I said weekend, this week, and how we close out the month. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get into the charts. We're going to get into Monday. Monday, I am starting this off at midnight. Now, if you guys watched last week's episode all the way into Sunday, I stopped it right when the moon was starting to go through its trine with Neptune and right as the moon was going into Aquarius. And I said, as soon as the moon goes into Aquarius, it's going to start a conjunction to Pluto. But technically speaking, it happens right after midnight. So I got this at 12:30 in the morning. So parts of what I say at this first part can apply to Sunday night late. But for other people, it's going to be just a part of the vibe for Monday, just to be clear. The moon goes into Aquarius and it makes this conjunction to Pluto. We are discovering something. We are talking about something. It's very likely that it is something new. It is something that we did not know. It is something that we don't necessarily want to believe. For some people, it can be very, very triggering. For some people, we are talking about the past abuse, past trauma, past triggers. Why do I say that? Because Pluto is retrograde. Some people can run into someone. Not all of us are dealing with this at 12:30 at night. So let's be clear. You can run into somebody and it's like, as you walk around the corner and you run into that person, it's like, oh, I didn't want to see you. And it itself can be a trigger. For some people, we can talk about how much we have healed and how much we have transformed and how much we have changed something. Because again, it is Pluto. And Pluto can be either side. It can be the triggers, the abuse, the trauma, the power struggle, or it can be the regaining of personal power. It can be the healing. It can be the transformational energy. It can go either way. But considering the moon is hosting the sun, Venus, and Mercury, we can have a lot of things to talk about. And again, this can go either way. We can be having very late nights conversations Sunday night about healing and focus and getting over some things. But we can also have some very late night conversations that are very triggering. And they are being met with indifference. Why do I say that? Because as the moon goes through its conjunction, and we're going to feel this the most between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. Central Standard Time, but right afterwards, the moon will enter a quincunx or an in conjunction, just to kind of help people out with that word a little bit better, with the sun. Now, we're actually going to feel this between 2:30 and 4:30 in the morning. So it's just kind of starting right here. So it's like we hear something and there can be elements that are met with disbelief, or we're hearing something that we had no clue about. And again, we need more time to wrap our head around some things. We are still wrapping our head around something. We are still trying to get a plan together. We are still trying to strategize something as we go into Monday. But for some people going into Monday will have levels of help, aid, lessons, and support. Monday is a very mixed bag for people, just to be clear. Okay, moving this along. We're going to get to around 9:30. Okay, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Aquarius is going to trine Jupiter and Gemini, air to air. Words, voicing, support. Jupiter's the doctor, Jupiter's the guru, the medicine woman, the teacher, the nurse. Jupiter, though, is hosting Saturn and Neptune. And these two, again, are slowing down to go retrograde. So this supportive energy can be about the turnaround. It can be about what's changing in responsibilities. You can be asking the teacher for something and the teacher is letting you know, I know it's summertime, but humor me. The teacher is letting you know, oh, I won't be back next semester. This is my last time to do this. I'm going to a new place. I'm not going to be here anymore. You're talking to the doctor, and the doctor is letting you know, I can't continue to do your treatments. I'm going to be referring you to a specialist. I'm sending you somewhere else. There's nothing else that I can do. Even though Jupiter is still full steam ahead and he has no part of the retrograde, he's still hosting Saturn and Neptune and that duplicity energy that's going through since Jupiter is in Gemini, hosting two planets that also are in a sign that reference duplicity. We can be talking about expressing and educating someone about something that is about to end, change, falter, turn around. Now, the moon's trine to Jupiter should be hopeful. It should be helpful. We should be gaining some kind of knowledge. We should be expressing some type of thing. But with the fact that Jupiter is hosting those two planets, a lot of this energy can speak to what is about to adjust and what is about to change. Okay. Moving this along, we're going to get to, I want to get this to about 4:30 because this is going to encompass two things at once. Between 1 and 3 p.m., I know I got this at 4:30, but humor me. There's a method to my madness, okay? Just deal with the madness. The moon will do the quincunx or the in conjunction to Venus. However, between 5 and 7 p.m., that's why I put this at 4:30, because it's kind of in between the two. The moon is going to hit a square to Mars. And later this week, Mars and Venus will hit a sextile. And I'd said in the full moon video, and I think it was the week ahead during the full moon, Mars and Mercury had made a sextile during the full moon. And I said then that I feel like there's an intention of something that we're waiting for a result that will come later. I think we're going to be having conversations Monday afternoon. A lot of us are going to be having conversations about an action that needs to be taken, moon square Mars, about this other person, this other situation, this other idea, this other topic. And that other topic, that other person, that place is not aware. So in some ways, it's like the action that is being given direction in the moon square to Mars, because the moon is in the higher authority pressing onto Mars at this moment. The action is going to be something that has already been in the works. It's been going on for a while. There's some type of communication that needs to be addressed. There's something that needs to be shifting, but the other party, the other side, is not aware. You take a job offer, but you haven't given your notice yet. This is what I mean by not aware. You're telling your hiring manager who to hire, but that person is not aware yet. They have not received their job offer. But I feel like for so many people that there is a decision in the energy to Monday. And it is a part of how we are starting to get out of the fog of where we have been blindsided by things recently. And that whatever this is has a very long-term effect, because the moon is in Aquarius, fixed sign. Mars is in Taurus, fixed sign. Mars, though, is being hosted by Venus, which is in this instigative Cancer cardinal energy. So whatever action we are about to take is the start of something that is going to be long-term. Are we taking the action in this exact moment? No. I think it's going to be something that happens a little bit deeper and later in the week. I do not feel like it's happening right now. I feel like decisions are being made. I think plans are being drawn up. Documents are being drawn up. The order for documents to be drawn up, the order to do something, the request to do something. But the intention, the solution, the result will come later. Okay. After the moon square to Mars, and we actually feel this the most exact between 5 and 7 p.m., there's not a whole lot going on. So I do feel like there's a lot of deliberation, a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth, and a lot of trying to work through something as we go into Monday. And if you had something blow up at work on Thursday and Friday and you haven't had the chance to fully face it yet, because some people only work Monday through Friday. I know some people work weekends. Some of us are self-employed and we work all the time. But in general, we're going into Monday with the idea of a decision that must be impressed, but is not being impressed in the moment. That's what I keep getting. Okay. We're going to get into Tuesday. Now, Tuesday, there's not a lot going on. There's really not. So I do feel like for a lot of people, if you do not have anything on your agenda on Tuesday, then Tuesday is going to be a long, drawn out day, and you can be in your head a lot. If you do have a lot of appointments already on your book for Tuesday, what you might find is that other people, they don't show, or they forget. They've been so distracted by something else that something doesn't happen appropriately, or that something gets delayed and the delay happens until later in the evening. Just to be clear. Now we have one last quincunx that I'm going to worry about, and then you're not going to hear me talk about this anymore for the rest of this episode. And that is real early in the morning. So right after midnight, between 1 and 3:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit that quincunx, or the in conjunction to Mercury. That's what we got going on right here. There is a decision, there is communication that is going to impact another person, but the other person does not know that yet. Why do I say it this way? The moon is hosting Mercury. The moon rules Cancer. The moon is hosting Mercury. This speaks again to a decision, to communication, to something, a plan, a strategy, a recourse, a result of some sort that the other person is not aware of in a lot of ways. The other way that this can go through is that there is a conversation being had, that we're not all seeing eye to eye. There can be tension and argument in the moment. Not everybody is dealing with this at 1:30 in the morning. This is just where we're at in the States. If you're on the other side of the globe, if you're one of my New Zealand babies, then this is middle of the afternoon and you're just having tension with another person. So there can be indifference to parts of the day on Tuesday and things just not clicking. You have appointments set, you have meetings set, but things just aren't clicking. Don't be surprised by that. After the moon does the in conjunction to Mercury, though, it's just vibing. It's vibing all day long. Morning, lunchtime, brunch, whatever you want to call it. And we don't really change anything until we get to right around here, between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. What's going on? The moon in Aquarius, so in Uranus's sign, is going to square Uranus. We've got that 90-degree angle. It's actually exact right here at 5:30. Here's the moon, 25 degrees, 29 minutes. Here's Uranus, 25 degrees, 29 minutes. But considering the moon is in Uranus's sign and Uranus is full steam ahead, this might not have anything to do with the other conversations. This could just be some unexpected news, some unexpected questioning, some unexpected announcement. You can have some type of unexpected reach from somebody asking for your ideas, or asking for your, what's the right word? Your experience. And you're getting a request of like, hey, how have you dealt with this in the past? Hey, where are you going? Hey, do you know a good place to go to a restaurant? This is going to be super mundane. I don't live here, but you do. And it's because of your experience. You're like, oh, yeah, there's a place over here. There's a place over there. There's a place over there. It's not all that bad. But what we're talking about here with the moon square to Uranus is like, we're getting feedback, we're getting news, we're getting conversation based off somebody else's experience. And I do feel like parts of Tuesday will have absolutely nothing with the rest of the week, because there hasn't been a whole lot about Uranus in the vibes lately. So enjoy that. Parts of Tuesday will not be bad. Again, if we get any kind of questioning in the afternoon, is based off of experience. Some of us, we will be giving our knowledge and our experience to someone else. We're trying to help them out. No big deal. Okay. Moving this along. After the moon square with Uranus, not a whole lot going on. Tuesday is pretty chill compared to Monday and Wednesday. Speaking of Wednesday, let's get into Wednesday. Now, the moon is still going to be in Aquarius until 1:08 a.m. Central Standard Time. So you can see this right here. Moon is in Aquarius. Bump it another hour to 1:30. Boom. The moon is in Pisces. We need to deal with something emotional. Remember I said at the beginning in the intro that we will have some parts of this week that will have very emotional actions and reactions. There's some emotion involved. Do not be surprised when we get into this timeline and we get through Wednesday, Thursday, and parts of Friday early morning, where we're trying to deal with the emotions coming to the surface. We are reacting emotionally to what someone else has said, what someone else has understood, how someone else is dealing with something, what someone else is going to do moving forward. There are emotional responses that are going to come up. And for some people, what will start to come up will be some very deep seated things that they've been feeling for a long time, that they've been thinking about for a long time. Just be aware of that. The moon is now in Pisces. Okay. We're going to keep this going. We're going to get to the actual daytime, get to the early morning, and between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 10:30. The moon at 5 degrees is going to trine the sun. So we got triangle, water to water, water flows. Permission, understanding, support, an emotional support, something to do with pride, something to do with strength, an understanding. The moon is hosting the sun. That's why I say the word permission. We hear something that we did not know before, and it leads to more instigation. It leads to more energy. It leads to more understanding. What I think is interesting is as we go through the day on Wednesday, sorry, I forgot what day we were on for a second. We also have Saturn coming into this trine with Mercury, and this will be the one and only trine from Cancer with Saturn, where Saturn is direct. So I do feel like there is some news and some communication that leads to parts of the halting and the turnaround vibe and energy that we're in this week. So we can be giving direction, giving forethought, giving news that is a part of that role change, the responsibility change, that vibe of what Saturn is dealing with and what Saturn is representing. Okay, moving along. We're still in the morning time. Now, the next one that is going to occur, we're going to get this at 1:30. This includes Saturn and Mercury, just flat out. But what's going to happen is between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Jupiter's sign is going to square Jupiter. This is questioning the doctor. This is questioning the lesson, questioning the nurse, questioning the guru. Saturn's trine to Mercury needs to understand something. Saturn is stationing. We're 3 days away at this moment, 3 days away now from whenever Saturn will turn retrograde. So we get some type of news and some type of communication that again can be a part of Saturn's turning around. The questioning of the doctor, the questioning of the guru, the questioning of the lessons, the questioning of something or someone can lead to a role reversal, a care reversal. In some ways, you're going to be getting some type of news that can be very, very hurtful, and it's going to be a part of separation. It's going to be a part of that leaving somebody behind. I don't trust you anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm doing this my own way. I'm not working for the man. I'm going in a new direction. There's something here that speaks to that shift and change. And this is a whole part of the vibration throughout the week, but I do feel like a lot of people will really feel parts of it on the 26th, and other people will be feeling it more on the 29th. So this is a big day for a lot of people because it's going to make you question your faith. It is going to make you have to deal with certain emotions and explain them and where you were coming from and how you thought something was going to go. And there can be a lot of things going on with the bosses, again, with the elders, people that are in places of authority. This is not a great day to have a meeting where you were in trouble. This can be a great day, though, where you find out like we're about to make a management shift and so is not going to be your boss anymore because maybe they've been abusing power. Just be aware of that, where the shifts in power are so big. Moving along. Again, moon square Jupiter between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Saturn's exact trine with Mercury is between 1:07 and 1:19 p.m. Central Standard Time. So at 1:30 right here, we're just past it. The thing about the Saturn Mercury trine is we're going to be able to feel this at any time throughout the day. This is just when it's the most exact. And it happens to be whenever the moon is squaring Jupiter. So again, questioning the treatment, questioning the elders, questioning the authority figure, questioning the guru, questioning the teacher, questioning the lessons. There's some questioning going on here. Okay, moving along. We're going to get to the evening time. And between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to trine, triangles, water flow, emotion to emotion. The moon is going to trine Venus. Now, I want to add a layer to this because for some people, Wednesday night's going to be a late night. Why do I say that? Because we get this to 10:30, right at the edge of the moon's trine to Venus, the moon is going to start a sextile to Mars. And this is literally a transit that takes us into the next day, because the moon's sextile to Mars is going to be between 10:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. on the 27th. So for some of us, Wednesday night is a late night. And we're trying to get an understanding. We're talking about how we feel. We're giving certain direction of how we take something forward, of how we're going to be overcoming the pain, how we start to overcome the trauma, how we deal with whatever decision has just been made, how we're dealing with whatever appointment, whatever conversation, whatever things just happen throughout the day. And we need guidance. But for some people, whatever's coming through is going to be disruptive. It's going to lead to decisions. Why do I say that? Because Mars and Venus are entering their sextile. They are a degree apart when the moon gets involved. It's not exact this day. It's going exact as we get further into the week. However, what I said before, whenever Mars hit its sextile to Mercury, which was exact during the full moon, but we felt it the day before, we were feeling it the day afterwards. We set an intention during that conversation, during that moment, that if something doesn't go a certain way, I'm going to take an action. And we're getting closer to understanding a result that's going to lead to said actions. And said actions for a lot of people will be very disruptive. Just to be clear, super fun. We want to understand something. We need guidance with something. It's going to lead to actions. It's going to lead to reactions. That's why I'm including both Mars and Venus in this timeline, even though they're two separate in the sense of like the hours. The moon trine to Venus is between 8:30 and 10:30. The moon sextile to Mars is between 10:30 and 12:30 the next day. But knowing that we're building to something right here, I feel like we get guidance. We're getting support. We're getting a fuel in the fire. We're getting more energy that's going to take us somewhere. Just to be clear, moving along, we're actually going to get into the 27th now. And again, this sextile between the moon and Mars is still going on as we start the 27th. After that, however, In the overnight hours, we can feel a little bit amped up and have a hard time going to sleep because of this sextile. So don't be surprised if like your mind is running so much, or you have all of these emotions coming through and you can feel yourself getting closer to making a decision. And again, whatever that decision is going to be is a long-term decision, long-term, but we're getting closer to something, long-term disruption. And then we're going to get into the next morning. Now, between 9 and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Saturn. There's a meeting. There's an understanding. There's a discovery. There was just a meeting the day before for a lot of people whenever Saturn was in the trine to Mercury. This is the last Saturn conjunction before Saturn turns retrograde in 2 days. For some people, we're accepting a resignation. I'm not going to work here anymore. Here you go. Not my role. For some people, we're learning about something from our elders and they're saying, I don't want to go into any more doctor's appointments. I don't want to go any more treatments. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want that care. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to know. You heard what they said yesterday. It's not going to go well if I try the next round, or that my percentages will be low if I try to continue these treatments. Like we hear that, we feel that, we understand it. And in some level, there's an acceptance here whenever the moon hits the conjunction to Saturn. And even though we don't necessarily announce it to everybody in this moment, like we're becoming accepting of something. We go to see our grandparent, we're going to see the boss, we're going to see somebody. And once you see them in the action of something, maybe it has nothing to do with the day before. This is all brand new. You finally go into an appointment and you finally go into this place and you see them and you see their condition and you see how they're handling something. You see how they're working and you're realizing, oh my God, they're right. I've been struggling for days to wrap my head around what they keep saying about the boss, about grandpa, about my uncle, about whoever. And it's like, once you see it, you have no choice but to accept it. Something has changed. They don't need to be in charge anymore. They don't need to be driving their own car anymore. I don't know if you ever had to do that, take the keys away from an elder. They don't receive it well. But it can be a big part of the energy. The moon's conjunction to Saturn is going to happen the most exact between 9 and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And again, this is the last conjunction before Saturn turns retrograde. So we are coming to terms with the turnaround. We are delivering the news that they're not responsible anymore, that you're not responsible anymore, that you're not going to be a part of this anymore. There can be an acceptance here, just to be clear. Okay, moving along. The moon will actually trine Mercury between 12 and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 1:30, so right in the middle. Here's the moon, 21 degrees in Pisces. Here's Mercury, 21 degrees, 21 minutes. So it's just past the exact trine right here, right after lunch. So water flows, understanding to understanding. There's a lot of understanding to this week. There's a lot of working through some things this week. There's a lot of trying to settle and depressurize certain things this week. Considering Mercury had just had the trine to Saturn, this can be the continuation of whatever happened on Wednesday. And we're getting the result. We're getting the news. We're signing off on on something. We're delivering the final documentation to something. There can be a lot having to do with communication. There can be a lot having to do with travel, because it is Mercury, and the flow energy of water to water. So we could be traveling somewhere after having just had a meeting, after having just had a lesson, after having just done something. There can be something that is a continuation from the day before. I do feel like we're very much in a continuation energy. And again, Mars and Venus are building their sextile this whole time. So we're getting closer to a result. We're getting closer to an answer. We're getting closer to a better product if you had the inspiration before during some of those other things, we're getting closer to something coming to light that, again, that we're going to be starting, but has a long-term effect to it. And I don't feel like everybody's going to be starting it all on Thursday. I feel like for a lot of people, it's getting more into Friday because Friday's got a lot more business to it. Moving along, though, we have one more transition. I'm sorry, transit, not transition. Transit to Thursday, and that is the moon in this sextile to Uranus. So I've got the moon 25 degrees, 39 minutes, making the sextile to Uranus 25 degrees, 35 minutes. So we're just past the exact right here. This is not heavy. This is laughing about something. The moon in Pisces, telling somebody that you just learned about something unexpectedly. There can be some kind of unexpected vibe to it. There can be some type of excitement here. You can be reading something on the internet, something that just kind of captures your intention. This does not have to be heavy. I do not feel like the aspects to Uranus right now are meant to be heavy, and not until we get more into Leo transits, which is going to happen in July. So take that while you can. Does not have to be heavy, just to be clear. And then we're going to get into Friday. So the moon is going to be in Pisces through the overnight hours, just to be clear. Whenever we get to right here, yeah, between 3 and 5 a.m. Central Standard Time, you can see this right here, the moon is going to conjoin Neptune. If you wake up in the middle of the night feeling super confused, do not be surprised. If you have the craziest dreams going on because when this is happening, do not be surprised. There can be something right here, but there can also be this foggy part of the day when we wake up the next morning that it's hard to get all of our cylinders clicking because of how weird our sleep was. That won't last, but don't be surprised. Now, if you're having a hard time sleeping overnight because so much crap has been going on, I get it. And you can either need something that completely distracts your mind. So it's like you can't sleep like a normal person. So you need to like play the television, put on a long movie that you can fall asleep to, that you've seen it before. So that way you don't have to, worry about getting tuned in, but you need something there that kind of distracts you to where you can finally go to sleep, that type of thing. You need something there that's almost entertaining, something that is different from everything else, something that can block your focus temporarily. So that way you can at least get a few hours of sleep. Okay. Now, at 3:52 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Aries. I'm going to bump this one more hour. Boom, here's the moon in Aries. It's still very close to Neptune. That's why I gave such a bigger window. So even though the moon is in Aries, we still can be feeling that Neptune energy. And considering Neptune just had a huge hand, a huge hand in that full moon, we can also be dealing with whatever inspiration. As we get deeper into Friday, by the way, we can start dealing with the full effects of the inspiration that got triggered around the full moon. We can be dealing with the full effects of the lies, the fraud, the deception, the backstabbing, the cheating that that was a part of the full moon. Or we can be dealing again with the effects and that final acceptance of like, okay, this is the last time we're doing it. Okay, I understand they don't want to continue the treatment. I understand we're not going to be doing this the same way anymore. I understand. And it's going to be a part of a action and reaction to how we go to Friday. And do not be surprised if your energy level on Friday is way different than how the rest of the week has been. Because now the moon is in Aries. The moon is in Mars' sign. And wherever we are disrupting something, whatever we are going to be starting, whatever we are starting to really put together right now, again, has a long-term effect. So let's keep this going. Oh, let's keep it going. Between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, so here's the moon, 1 degree, there's a sextile from Pluto, but Pluto is retrograde. So what we're talking about is in two different directions. The actions we are taking has nothing to do with the past. I don't want anything to do with that anymore. I'm separating from that. I'm not dealing with that anymore. The push of how you are going to continue is going to make you leave something in the past, because again, Pluto is retrograde. So a lot of this energy about how we move forward is got a reflection of how we leave something or someone in the past. Doesn't have to be heavy in this moment. The push forward, the steps that you are taking next can have to do with abuse, power struggles, trauma, the triggers. It can have to do with the recent events, the recent energy. And it's going to force you to take some type of action moving forward. But in the moment, there's something about the past, and there can be something that is tied to that June 11th time frame that comes back to this, that Mars Pluto square. But a lot of this now is about the action and the reaction, and not the things that was going on behind the scenes. I feel like a lot more people know what's going on now, and we are reacting to said things. Okay, moving this along. We're going to get to number 3 on the list. This is going to happen right around lunchtime. It's this 12:30. Okay. Chiron. I haven't had a whole lot to talk about with Chiron, but Chiron is going to have its exact square with Mercury. Now, this is going to happen between 12:46 and 12:58 p.m. Central Standard Time. Given so many of the other things that we have talked about, and right now, Chiron is full steam ahead, Mercury is full steam ahead, and Mercury is even getting close to the point that it's no longer in the rays of the sun. So I do feel like how we fix something, how we heal something, how we deal with the wound is going to lead to something new coming to light in the near future. This might not have anything to do with the rest of the situation. This might actually be whole new information, because we haven't had a whole lot of action tied to Chiron. This can just be a one-off situation where you're helping somebody fix something, or you're talking about how you did fix something in the past, and it has absolutely nothing with the rest of the vibe. But I didn't want to ignore it because I felt like it was important, but we needed to understand that there is a square between Chiron and Mercury. Now let's get into the afternoon. And I feel like a lot more people are going to feel this energy. So one, this is the last quarter moon. And usually after we get through the last quarter moon, the vibration tied to like the full moon and how intense everything can be, it starts to die down. Now, this moon is squaring the sun, but simultaneously it is hitting the sextile to Jupiter, and we are reacting to something. We are taking an action to close something out. This is the last full day of Saturn being retrograde, so that Jupiter highlight is there. And again, we are in the process of getting something turned around this week. Roles are reversing this week. Things are changing this week. And I have a feeling that if somebody was to be fired this week, it's going to happen on like Wednesday or Friday. Here's the Friday. The moon is hitting the sextile to Jupiter. We have a passion, we have a desire, we have knowledge. It's about the doctor, it's about the guru, it's about what's been going on. This moon, though, is also squaring the sun. And we're talking about cardinal to cardinal. We've already crossed a bridge. Jupiter's still in Gemini, that's the bridge sign. The moon, though, being in this cardinal sign squaring the sun, whatever is impacting this step in a new direction, this step towards something new, this new focus, however we are pushing forward into something new, whatever we are reacting to into the something new, it has, again, a long-term effect. It is going to push people into a whole new, again, shift, focus, and direction. But there can be a lot of words. There can be a lot of frustration. There can be a lot of tension because the moon is in Aries. And we can be reacting to something. There can be arguments being had. There can be tension in the words. How we're fixing something is not going to be the easiest thing to deal with. How we're working forward with something is not going to get received well from everybody. the direction we are taking, it's got some shakiness to it. It's got some levels. There's a lot here. Oh, for some of us, the whole action that we are taking is based off of the influence and the lessons of the guru. It might not have anything to do with that. The desire that we are progressing is because the doctor has said we can go in a different direction. And we're just trying to make something happen. But I do feel like there's a lot of action and activity whenever it gets to this part of Friday. Now we're going to feel this because these two are happening simultaneously. We're feeling this the most between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to have to pause this for a second. I swear I have the loudest ice cream truck that goes through my neighborhood sometimes. And it's always at weird times. So I apologize. So had to let that go by. And I suck at editing. I'm pretty sure people have already figured that out. Moving along. All right. I do feel like this is a big decision. This is a big part of whatever the turnaround energy of Saturn is going to be, because every day this week is about how we gain some type of information, gain some type of knowledge, gain something that is a part of Saturn's turnaround, because we're focusing on Saturn's first. Okay, moving this along. Oh, we're not done with Friday, by the way. We're really not. We're going to get into this later part of the evening. Now, for some people, we're going to get into the evening and we are celebrating. We absolutely are. We are celebrating something. We're vibing. We're talking about this new thing that we're going to do. For other people, you're not celebrating. You're frustrated. You're tense. And again, whatever's going on, the result, the answer, the final peg in the wall, it is leading to some type of action or reaction that is meant to happen at this time. Why do I say it that way? Between 10:30 p.m. and 12:30 the next day. So I know parts of this is going to go into Saturday, but the main focus right now, I feel like a lot of people are having a very late evening on Friday. The moon is going to have its conjunction to the North Node between 11:33 p.m. and 12:31 a.m. on Saturday. So again, we have a late night thing going on here. This is when Mars will hit the exact sextile to Venus. This is what I keep hearing in my head. This is what I keep feeling as I've been meditating on it. Whatever intention, whatever communication that was brought forward around the full moon when Mars was in the sextile to Mercury, because that was exact on the 21st. Now we're getting the next step of that. Now we're getting the next round of information. Now we're getting closer to something. And again, we have the result, we have an idea, we have a finished product because we've been working on something all week. Because again, we were working through inspiration. In some ways, the inspiration is taking a next step right here. And we're like, okay, I just need these final little tweaks, these final little things, and we can make this work. We can do this other thing. And that can be a part of the energy. But whenever it comes to Friday night, we're going to have a very big motivation. Our head is going to be in a very specific direction. For some people, they're going to be very, very frustrated. For other people, they're feeling the full elements of their strategy come together, and they're starting to see how something is shifting and changing, either for the better or for the worse. It kind of depends on how you're dealing with the Saturnian energy, in my opinion. Now, there's something very specific that is meant to come to a head by the end of the week for so many people. And again, the moon's conjunction to the North Node, it is a part of the energy of how we start Saturday. Mars is sextile to Venus. It is a part of how we're starting Saturday. You can see it right here. They're still exact at 12:30 in the morning. So this is a big part of the energy. And there's so many transits still to Saturday that, again, I feel like it sets in a motivation. Whatever the decision is, whatever the review is, whatever the results, whatever the answer is, whatever we have intended in our words previously, whatever the plan and the strategy started to look like before, now we're seeing some type of desire and motivation definition of some sort. Okay. Okay. This all happens, like I said, late night Friday going into Saturday. After that, though, we're going to get into the early morning on Saturday. So the moon is going to square Venus. We're going to feel this the most between 4:30 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 6:30. Here's the moon, 15 degrees, 39 minutes. Here's Venus, 15 degrees. We're actually just past it. But considering Mars, who's hosting the moon, is still in that sextile and they're still very, very close, I gave it a bigger window. Some of us know we are waking up Saturday morning to take an action, and we just couldn't sleep the night before. We know we're about to do something. We're about to push something forward. This has so much motivation, and I don't feel angst and anxiety with this. I feel like more people really are taking a challenge of how we're going to take something forward. And there's a lot of activity towards something that is about to be enlightened, to announced, that is about to come public in some way, come to light in some way, that is going to be a big part of the long-term focus in some way. So be aware of that. At 2:07 p.m. Central Standard Time, that is when Saturn turns retrograde. So I got this at 1:30 p.m. Here's Saturn, 19 degrees, 25 minutes, still direct. I bumped this 1 hour, same minute, same degree, retrograde. Saturn's retrograde begins. That role we previously had, the responsibility that we previously had, the care that we previously had, not the same. The boss we previously had, not the same. You might not know that yet. Just to be clear, if something's going on in higher management, you might not be aware of all of that yet, but there is a turn that's meant to happen here. And it might not impact you directly in the moment. It could be impacting somebody around you, and you don't learn about it for a few days. But that does not mean it's not a part of the energy. And there will be some very unexpected news that's going to come through very, very soon, moving this along. Okay, we're going to get into the evening time, and the moon is going to hit a conjunction to Chiron. Now, this is going to go the most exact between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 7:30. Here's Chiron. Here's the moon. We broke something. How do we fix it? Hey, I don't know how to fix this. Can you help me fix this? This does not feel heavy. In the past, this is what I've done to deal with this. This is how I've treated this. This is how I've handled this. And considering the moon and Chiron are being hosted by Mars, Mars is still in the sextile to Venus, we can be troubleshooting something. Troubleshooting how we're going to deal with something, how we're going to put something forward. But in the moment, we have to get something fixed and tinkered with in some way to make it work. You got to replace the tool, replace the battery to make it work, not heavy energy. I really like Saturn. I actually like the moon in Aries this time. Is it popping off possibilities? Absolutely. Anytime the moon is in Aries, people can pop off. In this regard, do I feel like a bunch of people are going to be popping off? Not really. I feel like there's more planning and focus and something taking us into a certain direction. Okay. Moving along between 9:10 and 9:24 p.m. So I got this at 9:30. Uranus is going to hit an exact sextile to Mercury. Unexpected news, unexpected communication, unexpected conversations, exciting pictures on the internet. Does not have to be heavy, does not feel heavy, doesn't feel crazy, but it does feel something like it's something that's just not anticipated. And Uranus is still full steam ahead, Mercury's still full steam ahead. So like we're talking about what we're in the progress of doing. We're talking about, in announcing what we're in the process of taking forward. And again, this has got some level of responsibility to it. There can be some type of communication where you get the first inklings about something's happened with an elder, something's happened with the boss, or you try to send a weekend email and already it's like return to sender. Or whenever you would normally send an email, you know that you would normally get a response because that person is so neurotic. They always answer their emails within like 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden they don't answer their emails. Like, wow, did you actually take the weekend? You don't know the news yet. Did you actually take the weekend? That's kind of crazy. In other ways, it's just doing something exciting with other people, exciting news, exciting communication, unexpected communication, exciting travel. It does not have to be heavy. Considering, though, the moon is also squaring Mercury right afterwards, I don't think it's heavy, but I do think that there's a lot of activity involved. Here's the moon, 25 degrees. Here's Mercury, 25 degrees. And we hit this exact square. This starts Saturday night, but it actually is a big part of how we're going into Sunday. There can be a question, there can be a push, there can be announcements. It can still have that unexpected energy because Uranus is involved. It can have some level of excitement, but we feel and we can see the long-term decisions of how something is about to come to light because we're getting closer to Mercury going into a whole new sign. That's why I keep saying it that way. It's not happening this week, but we are getting closer to it, moving along. As we go through the overnights of Sunday, the moon is going to be in Aries all night until we get to the morning. And at 7:01 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Taurus. It's chill. Anytime the moon goes into Taurus, like it starts to chill. Everybody can kind of take it down a notch. We feel like we've got something worked out. We feel like we've got something handled. There, considering the aspect of Venus right now, Venus is in the moon sign. The moon is in Venus' sign. So now this is actually starting mutual reception. There's a give and take. There's extra aid. There's extra help. There's extra connections. It's a little bit higher up. The moon is in its exaltation. Venus is in its exaltation. These two, we feel like something's really heightened and really beneficial and really connected in a lot of ways. I like when the moon goes into Taurus this time. I like this week once we get past some of the indecisiveness. And once Saturn goes retrograde, I feel like whatever the turn is, we're freaking aware of it by then. Okay, moving along. Between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm just past this exact, Pluto is going to square the moon. So you can see this right here, Pluto squaring the moon. Given the condition of the moon with that cohabitation, but with the cohabitation. I just said it a minute ago. The co-presence of the fact that mutual reception, that's the word. Sorry. The moon is in mutual reception with Venus. This is healing. This is heightened. This is good. How we're going to get past the trauma, how we get past the changes, how we get past the abuse, how we work through something, the solution to something is so real, how we're going to work past the fear and the triggers, how we're leaving behind the past, and how we're moving forward from here. The moon square to Pluto does not feel intense. It does not feel triggering. It does not feel like it has to be a bad thing. I feel like once we get to the weekend, we're vibing a lot more, moving this along. After the moon square to Pluto, there's really not a whole lot going on until the evening time. I feel like we're vibing. I feel like we're just getting things done. We're in our motivation. We're really enjoying the moment. And we get into this late evening time. And I do mean late evening. I got this at 11:30. The moon is going to make a sextile to the sun. You can see this right here. So this is actually a part of how we're going to go into Monday. Understanding, nurturing, setting something in stone. We spend a few days building something, reacting to something, taking a lot of actions while the moon was in Aries. But then once the moon goes into Taurus, We have that energy between the moon and Venus. It's just like things are in check for a moment and they can feel really good. And I want people to enjoy that. And you can have that late evening conversation with somebody or that late evening check-in. Hey, how are you doing? Great. We've been working all weekend. Great. This is going in this direction. No big deal. Everything's good. Super exciting. And we can be expressing more of that inspiration, expressing more of our emotions and how we've been feeling about something for a long time. I like the moon in Taurus. I like the last half of this week. As intense as some of the days can be, I feel like there is so much indecision that we still have to deal with through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But I feel like there's a clear definition in the energy once we move into Thursday. Thursday, Friday, like these 2 days really starts to do the vibe change, our focus change, our solutions. We get an answer to something. And then once we get that result, once we get that answer, once we get that permission, once we understand something and we know where the turnaround is going to happen, then it allows for something else to come through. But none of it is heavy. I was writing the notes out last night, by the way. And I was like, once you get through the first few days, it's not heavy anymore. The energy doesn't feel heavy. There can be a crap ton of transits, and there are, especially with Saturday, there's a crap ton of transits, but they don't actually feel heavy. Now, the human effect is if you have a bunch of placements in all of these areas where the planets are right now, it can feel heavy to you. It can feel like a lot more to you. But it's not going to be the case for everybody. And I feel like the last half of next week, we're going into a really good vibe. And the closer we get to the new moon in Cancer, which does not happen until the 5th of July, that we're going into a really good vibe. I like those last few days of June. I like the energy towards the first week of July. And I feel like there's something that's going to be very revealing and very beneficial for a lot of people that comes to light. But we're just not there yet. We have to strategize. We had to wrap our head around something. We had to take a step back. The thing is that step back to wrap our head around it, to get the plan together, waiting for certain people to make their decisions. So again, we can get a plan together, we can focus on something, we can take something to the next level. Once we get those things lined out, I feel like it's almost like there's no blockage for a few days, maybe even a full 2 weeks. Hear me out on that. There's just something that releases once Saturn turns retrograde. But even the right before, those right few days before, I feel like something releases. And where somebody had a hold on us, it's released. Where we have been triggered by something, it's released. There's something that releases midweek energetically. It just releases and allows all these other things to kind of fall into place. It's not going to be the easiest thing for some people. That turnaround, that hard decision, that hard news, the results of whatever has been spoken and dealt with. But once it is dealt with, the relief, the pressure that is coming off. For some people, it's going to be an emotional pressure that is just relieving and coming through. It's a mental pressure of just like, I don't have to worry about this anymore. It's not on my mind anymore. Just screw them. I'm going to do this. I wanted to do this anyways. Now you're just giving me a reason to do it. And a motivation sets in. Last week was the first week of a shifting focus, but that shift was in a very foggy, unclear area. I feel like as we go through these next 2 weeks, so this week that I'm recording for, and that first week of July, I feel like this bridge We've got a whole new vibration and a whole new energy. And where we previously felt some element of fog, we don't feel it anymore. And we can take steps forward into something with a whole new sense of pride. Can also be a whole new sense of ego. We'll get to that whenever we get closer to it. But a whole new sense of pride. And that's going to be really helpful for a lot of people. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'm sorry for the little hiccups, midway through on the Friday, Saturday part of the chapters. Anyways, I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Zoom, I keep forgetting to say this now. The group Zooms are on Wednesday nights. I just post the links on Facebook, either my personal profile or the Spiritual Boujee Astrology page. If you are wanting to be a part of the Zooms and you just need the reminder, let me know. I DM a crap ton of people, or I email those links out to people. Like, I really do. I just need to know if that's something that you want me to do. I don't push it on everybody. But if you're wanting to be a part of those Zooms and being able to talk to more people, like in this like spiritual community that we're building, I host time where you can have one-on-one FaceTime with me, and it's not having to be a session, but you're sharing that space with everyone else. And that way you can also hear from everyone else about how this energy has been impacting them. Because we look at it from this point of transits, and I try to give as many versed examples as possible in this weekly stuff. But whenever you start to hear the layers of how it actually impacts people in their life, like, it really can open your eyes and help you understand more about how the astrology can unfold. So again, Zooms, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I post the link on Facebook. If you want me to email it to you, I will do that, DM it to you, whatever it needs to be. I just need to know. But anyways, I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.